welcome to my channel. I am Andrea and you're very welcome beyond the pink door. So today I'm going to do something a bit different. I haven't tried this before. I'm going to do my first sew along. So it's going to be a sew along to the Sirocco jumpsuit. I got a fabulous piece of fabric from Maeve's Dress Fabrics during the week. It's a lovely colourful floral scuba. And the minute I saw it, I just thought, no, do you know what? That just has to be a jumpsuit. It was a remnant. It was 2.5 meters long. It was only €15, I think. And I just had to have it. Now, I didn't buy it with a purpose, but the minute I saw it, it just told me, do you know what? I need to be a Sirocco. The first Sirocco jumpsuit I made last year was out of a floral scuba as well, and it was just gorgeous. I made it, honest to God, I made it thinking, this is just not going to suit me. I'm only 5 foot tall, I'm pear-shaped. I thought the gathering, well, the pleatedness around here just wasn't going to suit me, but no, it was absolutely, I just love it anyway. Myself and Anne-Marie did a little chat about the Sirocco because she made her first one this year. I mean, the two of us are just so late to the Sirocco party, but there's many more parties in the Sirocco yet. So I've had a lot of comments lately on my YouTube video, that YouTube video that I was just speaking about. Just people really thinking, will I, won't I, will I, won't I? And they've just been convinced from the video. So I thought, right, do you know what? I haven't done a sew along. You'll have to forgive me if the camera angles are really bad. It's a really dull day today, but yeah, there's a lot of sunniness in this fabric. So I'm going to show you, I have it all laid out on the floor. I'm just a floor cutter. I could have emptied my table here, but I just find I've just always cut out on the floor. So you know what? I'm going to keep cutting out on the floor. And I'm a scissors and pins person. I can't see myself converting to the rotary cutters. Not at my stage of sewing. So I'm going to turn the camera around now and show you I've it all laid out, ready to cut out, and wait until you see this beautiful fabric. And here's the fabric. Isn't this just divine? I just love the colours in it. Now I hope I have it turned the right way up. I looked and looked and I think it's the right way up. And I've all my pieces here all pinned out, ready for cutting out. And I've still got a big chunk down here left over. Okay, so I've all my pieces cut out and I have a nice chunk left for possibly a skirt. I'm going to mark all my little notches now and all my indicators for pleats. So there's quite a few pleats on the Sirocco. There's pleats here on the front bodice, there's pleats here on the front trousers, and oh my god, my stomach is rumbling. It must be nearly lunchtime. There's pleats on the back bodice and there's darts here. So I'm going to do all my notches for all my pleats, and that's all I do is, so here's my front bodice, there are my little notches, and I'm going to do just a little snip, not massively into the fabric because the seam allowance on the Sirocco is only 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to continue and do that for all my pieces. I'm also going to put little notches for my sleeve. This is my front notch. There's always a double notch for the back, and then you'll see on the corresponding back piece there's the notch. So basically it's like a jigsaw, isn't it? We're matching all the notches up and it's all going to come together like that. So I'm going to go ahead, do all my notches, and then I'm going to show you how I mark my dart on the back trousers pieces. Okay? So here's my back trousers piece. You can see we have the dart here. So I'm going to snip at the 2 notches, and then what I do is I put a pin at the bottom of the dart, fold my piece back, I separate my 2 pieces, and then where I can see the pin coming out, I put a pin in each piece. There, that's the darts. So step one is to make all the pleats in the bodice pieces. So that's 2 fronts and the 1 back. So we have our little notches, 1 and 2, and the pleats go in the direction of the side seam. So just pin 1 notch to the other, and the little fold is in there, and I'm going to put a pin there, and I'm going to sew across there. That's 1. Then we have our back pieces. Again, look for our notches. Point them in the direction of the side seams. Pin in place. That's them prepared. So I'm all ready to sew. I've got a new needle in. If you read through the little instruction booklet, it will tell you to use a ballpoint needle. I've been using a lot of jersey recently, so I've decided I need a nice sharp needle. So I've put in one of my Schmetz jersey needles. These are perfect for the job. I have my black thread. I use these black cones of thread, and I've got a new bobbin wound. I meant to say as well that it says in the instructions that your fabric has to have at least 60% stretch. Now, I hadn't a clue how to do that, but I found out, it says in the book that if you cut a 4-inch piece of fabric and stretch it, and make sure that it stretches to 6 1/4 inches. So yeah, mine did, thankfully. So yeah, I'm all ready to sew. I've set the machine to zigzag. It is length 4, width 3, so that gives me quite an even zigzag. So where I've pinned my pleats, I'm just going to do a zigzag on the edge just to hold the pleats in place. Okay, that's all of those put in place. And my next thing to do, according to the instructions, because I am following the instructions, is I'm going to sew the shoulder seams together. So I'm basically getting my right side of fabric out, and I'm pinning, being careful not to pin them the wrong way around. I'm going to pin my shoulder seams together. Now the great thing about jersey and scuba and all of these is that there's no need for any serging, so they're not going to unravel. So we don't need to zigzag, we don't need to serge. Now I'm going to sew the shoulder seams. Now my machine does have a little cut at the end, so it's like a little scissors I can press, like that, and it cuts the thread. But I'm really spoiled by that, and I forget that it's there because I've never had that on another machine before, and I'm so long sewing that I just don't remember to use it, but I'm going to try and remember. So a zigzag at the beginning, keeping the edge of the fabric along the edge of my foot. stitch at the end, press the magic scissors button, and that's it. And I automatically pick up the little scissors to cut the threads off, but they're already cut. So starting to come together already. Shoulder seam's done, so it's like a little waistcoat at the moment. And the next thing that we have to do is the neck band. So I'm actually wearing my black Sirocco today, which I forgot to mention. So the next thing we're doing, it's hard to see on the black, but there's a band there, so we're going to attach that band. So far we've done the pleats and we've done the shoulder seams, and now we're going to do this band. So I'm going to fold the band in half and put some pins along. Just to keep it in half. Now I'm going to run my overlocker just along the edge here, not because it's going to fray, but because it's actually just going to keep it together. It's just going to be easier, because the type of scuba it's really springy, and even if I iron it, it's just not going to stay in half. So the easiest thing to do is run it on the overlocker. Now there we go. Now my overlocker wasn't in black, it was in pink. But how nice is that? So cut off the threads and we find the halfway mark on this. So I've just folded it in half, put a pin, and then I'm going to find the halfway mark on the back piece. And I'm just going to cut the tiniest little snip there so that I can find that. I'm just having a look at the band to see which has more pink showing out, so this is going to be the right side of it. I'm going to pin the centre of this onto the centre back where I've done that little notch. Then I'm going to stretch it down all the way to the end. So this band now doesn't look like it's going to stretch, but that has to be pinned all the way around, and it does stretch. So I'm just going to pin that all along. Now because it's so stretchy, what I'm going to do is, I have it pinned here at the back and I have it pinned here in the end. I'm going to find the centre again, where I'm holding it on the band, holding it on the front, and I'm going to bring those two together and give it a pin. And that'll just make sure that I have got the stretching nice and even. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this all around. All my pinning done, so I've pinned it all in place, and I'm going to sew it with the zigzag. I'm going to sew it on the band side so that I make sure that everything is nice and even width all around. I'm just checking that my camera is on, because the amount of times I've actually thought I was filming and I wasn't. I was just filming myself turning it off. It's not even funny. So back stitch at the beginning. Now I'm just sort of stretching the band out to fit the neckline as I go. Now I've just come to one of the shoulder seams, and I'm going to make sure that the shoulder seam faces towards the back. Okay, that's sewn all around. And the next thing it tells you to do is to, I'm actually going to put this on and you'll see what I mean. There's my shoulder seams, there's my bends, and what it asks you to do is to push this seam onto the front and do a top stitching around, just to keep it nice and flat. So I'm going to go ahead and do my zigzag all around. I finished all my zigzag around, so you'll see the zigzag there. Now on the front pieces, I forgot to mention this, there's a little notch here that shows where the centre front of the front is, so there's those little notches there. And the next thing we have to do is we're going to put the little waistband, this little part here, on the front and on the back. So what we have to do is we have to match up those two little notches together, and that brings the two fronts together to overlap. So it wraps right over left, and the best way that I can do that is to put it on, put right over left, find my little notches and pin them together. And then what I'm going to do is just sew on top where they overlap. Oh, look at those colours, love it. Oh, forgot to press the little scissors button again. Okay, it's starting to come together. It's coming together quite nicely, so you can see where it's lapped over. We've got the little pleats. Oh, they're there. And we have the neckband on, and then we have the back. And I have the two pieces here. We have the front waistband and we have the back waistband. So I'm going to take the pins out of those, and then I'm going to pin the right sides together along here. I'll pin them and come back. Right, so I've pinned the waistband on the front and on the back piece. And now I'm going to sew along here and the same on the back. Well, she's looking good so far. Little crossover done. I did like an extra little back stitch when I came to this, which is the fold over. So I did like a little extra back stitch there, and the same when you come to the little wrap over part here. Just because I remember trying it on before, and when you're wiggling into it, the waistband is actually quite narrow because it fits so nicely, but it's the little stitches here that are probably going to be the first ones to give. I gave it a little overlock as well, not because it's going to fray, but simply just to give it a little bit of extra strength. So I'll leave her there while we get on with the trousers part. Now I'm actually going to stop for lunch because I'm absolutely starving, and you don't want to be able to hear my stomach rumbling. So I'll be back after a sambo. Well, that was part one of the sew along. I have the jumpsuit finished now. Obviously I'm filming this after I was doing my editing, and between all the little videos that I had to slot in, the sew along was just far too big for my Mac to load it together and upload it to YouTube. So, and anyway, I've broken it down because I think 40 odd minutes of watching me and listening to me would be just far too much for anybody. So yeah, so hopefully this part one has been helpful. If I've made any blunders, sometimes I say the wrong words. I actually have the right word in my head, but the wrong word comes out of my mouth. So if there's anything that I've said that's misleading or anything, or something that you just didn't understand, this was my first sew along, so yeah, forgive. And that was the very technical equipment there, my little dongly thing, and yeah, the ultra techno box that it sits on. So yeah, hopefully now you enjoyed part 1, and then when you've chance, hop to part 2 and you'll see the rest of it. So bye bye for now.